Hi there. Welcome to ABU Group. We're here today to talk a little bit about the April markets and what's happened over the past month. So, April's reminded us that things can change quickly after last month of March being a tough month. April has had some improvements in some areas with the equity markets coming back about 8.5%, and year to date now, the stock market's up about 4.5% if you look at the S&P 500, whereas inflation has been a little bit stickier. And so the Federal Reserve is, even though it may be low, the Federal Reserve is saying, hey, we're not going to lower rates yet. We're going to have higher for longer. And Joe, tell us a little bit more.
Well, one of the biggest drivers of inflation, one of the biggest components in the CPI is energy. And per the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the index for energy increased 10.9% in March. That was the largest monthly increase since September of 2005, 21 years. And the gasoline index increased 21.2% over the month, which was the largest increase since 1967 when they started tracking it. XLE, which is a benchmark for energy stocks, was up 25% as of yesterday, April 23rd. Clearly energy is driving up inflation, and the market likes certainty and is currently pricing in a resolution to the U.S.-Israel war in Iran. But if protracted, we'd expect inflation to stay even higher longer.
Thank you. Chisum?
Sure. For private markets, one of the things we like to do is monitor private markets. And on the private equity side, deals continue to be slower and they tend to cook longer. It's kind of a multi-year trend that companies are staying private longer. And that's due to a few different things. But certainly the war doesn't help and the sticky inflation doesn't help either. Those uncertainties make companies more hesitant to come public. One of the deals that we are monitoring, though, is SpaceX is scheduled to potentially come public in June or July of this year, and that'll probably be producing some major headlines in the IPO space. And then on the private credit side, we continue to see some gating, with the uncertainty with the war. More people wanted out of some of those deals, and some of the major players have had to withhold some of the liquidity. So, for example, Blue Owl and Ares had some gating where they had redemptions of about 12% requested, and they were only able to fulfill about 5% on some of their funds.
So people that are in private credit may take longer to get out of those at this point in time.
Correct. But while it can be concerning, especially if you're in those funds and you want access to your money, it's also important to recognize that it's not necessarily a bug. It can be a feature. It does help protect, some of those gating. It does help protect the investors in it, so it prevents the fund from having to sell those positions at a kind of a fire sale price.
Anything to mention about infrastructure?
Infrastructure continues to be a kind of a major theme that we really are bullish on, with the increase in AI data centers and of course shipping is always going to be needed, airports and ports, and so we don't see demand for those types of investments going away anytime soon.
Right. A big part of the marketplace is corporations. And one of the other things that I'd mention about corporations is the earnings have actually been pretty solid. So even though there's been quite some time where people are worried about the recession or R word, things slowing down, we're still seeing consumers spend, especially at the high end of the consumer base. And we're seeing corporations still making money and beating their projected earnings. And AI is is kind of a mixed bag where it's helping corporations be more profitable, but it's also causing some concern in the marketplace. It's going to affect corporations. So that's the summary of the highlights of April. And what I would say is that we're happy to discuss that on an individual basis. And thank you for your time.